The St. Louis Blues get ready for their final home preseason game against the Ottawa Senators.
Hey, this is Brayden Shen.
Subscribe to Lock On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here in the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The Blues have a test against the Ottawa Senators as it's their final home preseason game. The Blues and all of you and me, we need to get a little bit more confident despite the Blues going 0 for 4 in the preseason so far. And finally, Erik Johnson retires from the NHL. He was one of our first overall draft picks, and he had quite a career to say the least. And when I spoke to EJ last year, he said great things about Brayden Shen, and it really just goes to show how tight-knit the hockey community is. With all that being said, I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Okay, so obviously the Blues have yet to find themselves in the win category in the preseason. I know for many of you, you might be wondering why this is a big deal, and we're going to get into that later. Oh, breaking news. We have a lot of breaking news whenever I record. TJ Oishie has joined the ESPN broadcast as a studio and game analyst for the upcoming season. One of us too. That was our guy, TJ. Anyways, let's get into the game tonight. I got a little bit sidetracked, but I just got the notification and I'm like, whoa, that's a big deal. So let's get into tonight's contest. Again, congratulations to TJ Oishie. So this is going to be the lineup for tonight with the Blues. Again, this is brought to me by the Blues PR staff who sends me game day information. So this is where I'm reading this from. The game day lineup goes as followed. Bukestad, Bushi, Holloway, Joseph, Drew, Lucic, Schenner, Snuggie, Sonny, Suter, Thomas, Walker. For defense, we have Broberg, Folk, Fowler, Mayu, Pareko, Tux. Goalies, Binner, and Ellis. Obviously, there might be a name that you don't see, and that is Dvorsky. Interesting, right? That's what I thought too. Anyways, Lou Korak always has the different lines from practice and morning skate. So this is what he has. Centering. On the first line is Robert Thomas. To the left is Bushi. To the right is Snuggie. We kind of figured that's going to be the first line heading into the regular season, as this is the line that we do see the most, and it's the most consistent line as well. On the second line, we have P.U. Suter centering. To the left, it's Dylan Holloway, and to the right, it's Jordan Kyrou. Dylan Holloway had 2 goals against Dallas, and so did Philip Broberg. So it's our offer sheet guys really stepping in. But the main point is that I like that Holloway and Kyrou are getting a lot of time together. We saw last year the chemistry that they both had playing on the same line. So it makes sense to keep that for this upcoming season. Sometimes you don't want to tweak things a little bit too much. I do find it interesting, however, that Suter is the 2C, just because we know there's a bit of a battle for who will be the 2C this upcoming season. On the third line, Captain Brayden Shen is centering. To the left, it's Mojo. To the right, it's Bukestad. Finally, on the fourth line, it's Oscar Sundqvist centering, Lucic to the left, and Walker to the right. Now, what I will say about this is I did find this a little bit interesting because I think Alexei Torchenko actually deserves to actually make the opening night lineup. And I think that he is a really good skater, and I think he's a little bit underrated too. On defense, here's our pairs. We have Fowler and Pareko. Then we have Broberg and Folk. Finally, on our third pair, we have Tucker and Mayu. In net, Jordan Binnington. Backing up tonight will be Colton Ellis. However, we all know during the regular season, Joel Hofer will be the backup. That's not changing. Again, it is preseason, so we're still seeing some guys mixed in. And then the power play units, we have Snuggerud, and then we have Thomas Shen, Bushi, and then Fowles is going to drop back. And then on our second power play unit, we have Sonny, then we have Kairos, Suits, Holloway, and then Folk. Now, I know there's a name that you're also kind of like, hey, what's going on here? And Jake Neighbors, obviously, we don't see his name. However, I do expect Jake Neighbors to kind of be somehow in, maybe. I don't know where they're going to put him. Maybe instead of Snuggie, I don't know where they're going to put Jake. But what I can say is this is really close to an opening night lineup and roster. I just, again, have to address that I don't think that we're seeing the full picture here. And I do kind of wonder why we don't have Dvorsky in tonight. I believe Dvorsky did play in all the preseason games so far for the Blues. And I'm understanding of that. But I kind of want to see a little bit more of him on what you would get from a typical game roster for opening night in the regular season. So to me, I did find that a little bit interesting. However, at the end of the day, you have to, again, trust the team and trust what's going on. I do want to say, too, against Ottawa tonight, that I understand that, the Sens, they're an interesting team, right? They're a team that can really turn it up, and I think it's going to be a good contest. I still feel confident that the Blues are going to be able to win tonight. I still feel confident in the fact that the Blues have a really good lineup heading into tonight's game. But there's a couple players that I want to focus on tonight. I really want to focus on Matthew Joseph. And I know for some of you that might sound a little bit nitpicky, and maybe it is. But I want to make sure that we're not just putting guys in just because we have a lot of talent that are really guys that we've sent down already and guys that are going to spend some time with the Thunderbirds and might get called up this season. I think that this Blues team just has a lot of talent. And that's not a bad thing, obviously. But at the same time, when you have a team with a lot of talent, you want to make sure that you're utilizing the talent the right way and you're not just kind of throwing it out there, right? And again, this is the last time we're going to be playing at home in the preseason. We then come back and we host the Minnesota Wild at home. I know. And it's going to be a test. It's going to be a challenge, not denying that. But at the end of the day, you want this team to really gain some confidence. And that's why coming up, I'm going to talk about why we need to get confident from tonight's contest. But before I do that, I want to tell you about my friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Personally, I'm big into the same game parlays, and I only bet on the Philadelphia Eagles. I know that we have a lot of good matchups going on right now, but I'm superstitious. So I am telling you for the game against the Broncos this upcoming Sunday, Eagles money line and Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown and Saquon Barkley over on yards. That is a 3-leg parlay, probably the most I've ever done in quite a while. But again, I feel really confident about this. Last week when I told you Dallas Goedert anytime touchdown, a couple people thought I was crazy, but he ended up getting 2 touchdowns. So again, make sure you head to FanDuel.com because I am telling you, you can win some big money. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. It's a little bit discouraging when your team has gone 0 for 4 in the preseason so far. When you've seen other teams like the Dallas Stars thriving. Personally, here's my thoughts, and this is the conversation because we do kind of need to talk about it. We've seen some good things, and we've seen some okay things, and some bad things, and we've seen all the things in between. But I want to reassure you in a couple of points. One, some of the preseason games were heavily AHL based. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's what preseason is for. So you can kind of see what the younger guys that you drafted or got in numerous ways are able to do. I think it's a really good test because then you can tell them what they need to work on when they go back to their respective teams. And who knows, maybe a skater or two will surprise you. I think when you evaluate preseason, you have to break it up into halves. The first half should be simple. See what your younger talent can do on the ice. Maybe put some players in that had injuries that are veteran players, but you just want to get them warmed up again and equated with the ice again. Then half two, which is your second half of preseason games. This should be a more heavily based NHL lineup. And you want to put in players that you think can make the team for opening night. You also want to mix in a couple of the AHL guys that you think, hey, they could surprise us, and they have been already at camp. So let's see what they do with our NHL ready players. And that's what we've seen from Dvorsky as example. I believe that the scores don't matter. They don't. Okay. But what I do believe is a couple of things. One, Dallas, I hate to say it, they're a really good team this upcoming season. They have been a good team. And in the last game that we played, Dallas was just the better team. I mean, Casey DeSmith looked solid in net. Now, while I think Joel Hofer is a really good goalie, and I'm not going to deny that, I think that there is a little bit of a talent difference between DeSmith and Hofer. Another thing, we saw Dylan Holloway just flaming hot again. And that to me gives me confidence. That to me makes me feel really good because don't forget, my friends, we did not have Dylan Holloway in the last little bit of the regular season and in the first round against the Winnipeg Jets. And my brain, it goes to this place of, what if we had Dylan Holloway? That's what I think. And I'm sure you have thought it too. Another thing, Philip Broberg. Now, while he had a penalty that I wasn't too big of a fan of, I believe it was slashing, he also scored. And I think for those two players who really sped up this entire process, it just installs so much confidence for me. I do believe that there's a little bit of fundamental things that the Blues need to work on, like their power play and penalty kill. But you can really say the same about any other team in the NHL. One thing I noticed though on their penalty kill is that they allowed Dallas a lot of offensive zone time. And you simply cannot have that on a penalty kill. You want to clear the puck and keep it out of your defensive zone as much as possible. And the Blues had a bit of a difficult time being able to do so. However, they can still work on that, and I'm not necessarily worried. Again, it's little nitpicky things. When you look at the ice, right? And it's such a simple game when you think about hockey overall. It's a sheet of ice with two goals. It's simple. You have five skaters on each side, a goalie on, each net. Like it's a simple game. It's a simple concept. But when you have a team like Dallas who is really speedy on the power play, you need to kind of adjust how the penalty kill is going to look. And I thought our guys got back in time, and I was impressed with that. But at the same time, I just want to see it amped up just a little bit more. But again, that's nitpicky. I think special teams is really difficult in hockey. Maybe, again, I'm a little bit more sympathetic because, again, it's a whole different game in a sense when you have to play special teams. You see so many teams that struggle on the power play, and you see so many teams that struggle on the penalty kill, but then when they play 5-on-5, they look great. Like it's so interesting how it works, but it's like an art. It's like a craft, special teams. And once you're able to kind of find that sweet spot, then you're going to excel on it like Dallas does. Being said, I still think the Blues did make significant improvements from a couple of seasons ago, so I'll give them that. But another factor of why I feel like I want to get a little bit more confidence is because I know there's people that are superstitious. If their team wins every single preseason game, they freak out a little bit. And then they're kind of like, oh no, we're screwed for the regular season. Now, I'm not saying that if the Blues lose every single preseason game, I'm going to think to myself, oh, we're going to win the Stanley Cup. That's not what I'm saying. But it would just be nice to get at least one win under their belts so that way they feel better about the season ahead. As much as players say, "Oh yeah, this doesn't bother me," it's really interesting like sports psychology and what actually does bother athletes and whatnot. I mean, that's why you see so many athletes having, this really specific game day routine because in their head, if they don't follow the routine, they're going to have a bad game. And I know that might sound silly to you and but I mean, I cover another NHL team and I have like a game day routine too. And if I don't follow it, I'm like all like, I don't like it. I don't like not having my routine. I'm a big routine person. So for the athletes, I'm sure that, it's kind of getting to their heads a little bit that they haven't been able to find a win. But I do think overall, they will be able to find a win tonight, or at least that's what I am hoping for. But I want to keep this segment a little bit shorter because I want to talk to you about someone who is so, so, so special who announced his retirement in the NHL, and that is Erik Johnson. So, to take you a little bit behind the scenes, I cover another NHL team. And one of the teams I cover, he actually played on for a little bit of time. And I have been able to talk to EJ a lot last season. And, he came up on his 1000th career game. It was a little bit after Shenner's, and he actually spoke about Braden Shen to me. And it was really cool, honestly, just to have a really transparent conversation with Erik Johnson. But as of yesterday, he did retire from the NHL. I mean, it is so weird to think about certain players retiring. But again, he did such astonishing things in his career. I mean, he won a Stanley Cup. He was drafted first overall by us and so much more. So again, a huge congratulations to Erik Johnson. But again, with that being said, I kind of want to share a few things with you all about Erik Johnson and all the wonderful things that he has done. Because again, a player like him who had really such a great career that always wanted to help out the younger players on his team. And most importantly, a player that played with passion, a player that underwent adversity. He was a 17-year NHL veteran, a Stanley Cup champion. So I'm going to read to you what Erik Johnson had to say because it was something really beautiful. After 18 incredible years in the NHL, I am retiring with a heart full of gratitude to the St. Louis Blues, Buffalo Sabres, Philadelphia Flyers, and most of all, the Colorado Avalanche. Thank you for the opportunities and memories, and especially the 2022 Stanley Cup. To my teammates, coaches, and staff, your support, camaraderie, and dedication shaped my career. To the fans, your passion made every moment unforgettable. To my family and friends, your uncontrollable love and support carried me through hockey. Has been my life. I am grateful for every second. I'm excited for what's next, and I will always cherish the journey. So, again, really sentimental by EJ to say that, right? And again, you have to look at his career as a whole. 1023 NHL games, 95 goals, and 348 points total between the four teams combined. Erik Johnson truly, he went through a lot of things. And he played 731 games with the Avalanche, by the way. And that's a lot of games to play with one team. And I commemorate him for what he did with the Avalanche. I mean, winning the cup, 37-year-old. But I think we need to take a step back to the 2006 draft when the St. Louis Blues drafted the defenseman first overall. So cool, right? And again, I can't help but think to myself, we had a first overall draft pick. Maybe he didn't become a cup champion with us, but he became a Stanley Cup champion. And that means something. That really does. And I have a couple of stories that I want to share with you about my experiences with EJ. So I cover another NHL team, as I stated. And last year at training camp, I was leaving camp. I was talking to a couple of media members who also were leaving camp for the day. And we are just standing outside, and Erik Johnson pulls up, by the way, his license plate. Yeah, it's like Colorado. So I guess he got it shipped because I don't think he would drive. And he stopped pretending that we were fans, even though he knew that we were media members. He was like, "Hey guys, do you want an autograph?" Like, he was just that type of player where he truly was funny. He also was really like awkward about his 1000th NHL career game, and he didn't want to make a big deal out of it. But obviously, all the guys on the team made a big deal out of it because, again, hey, that's a really big deal, and it should be something that you celebrate. So they had shirts, and he was like, "This isn't about me. This is about, everybody else on the team." And it was just so fun to watch that, right? I mean, again, 1,000 games in the NHL and first overall draft pick, Stanley Cup champion. And it was really cool. And it was actually against the Buffalo Sabres, who we did play with for a little bit. So again, um, I thought it was really fun for him. And another thing about Erik Johnson is that, and maybe I'm just like a little bit, biased because he was a St. Louis Blue. But I mean, he really had nothing but good things to say about all of his teammates, all of the fans throughout his respective teams. And he always just spoke so, so, so highly of everybody. And I think that goes to show the type of person that he is, not just a player, but the person that he is. So, again, I really respect that about Erik Johnson. But let's get into Erik Johnson talking to me about the St. Louis Blues because that was actually really fun. And let me tell you this, EJ is tall. I'm short. I'm only 5'2". So during this interview, I'm like, I can't really hear you. So we kind of sat down because I could not hear him, and I doubt he could hear me. But anyways, I kind of wanted to see maybe from his perspective about, what this meant. And he said that it's super tricky to reach 1,000 career games. I know him personally through our friends, and I'm super happy for him. He's a good person and a good player. Going through that 1,000 game experience myself this year, I can speak to the fact that it's kind of a build up until the game. And then once it's over, you kind of have the attention off you because everyone is talking about it. It's a huge milestone everyone wants to hit. And once you hit it, you can sigh in relief. It's a milestone that not a lot of people get, and it takes longevity, durability, and all of those things that help you stay in the league for a long time. It's a great moment for him. So that's what he had to say about Braden Shen. Now, what I will say is this. A couple people on social media sent me this picture of EJ celebrating with the Stanley Cup, making some goofy faces, and they wanted to get his reaction. So I showed him the picture, and he was like, "Oh my God." It was actually really funny, but I have a lot of, funny stories about different players throughout the years, but it was such a treat being able to cover Erik Johnson. So on that being said, congratulations, EJ, on such an astonishing career in the NHL. And again, to all of you, I'm excited for the Blues and Senators tonight. And like always, let's go Blues.